And welcome back. Welcome to Sew Together Tuesday. I am Teresa Coates. I am very excited you are here. I'm the National Educator for Shannon Fabrics, and we are back with another Sew Together Tuesday. I am excited. Today we are doing something a little bit differently. So last week we had Jeremy, who is the director, producer, I can't remember, he had a fancy title, for the Lone Pine film. He was here last week, and so we didn't do any sewing. And this week we're going to do some sewing, but it's going to be a little bit different. So we are actually doing a machine comparison. So if you pull back a little bit, you'll see I've got a whole bunch of machines here. So we have 4 machines that we're going to not necessarily compare as to which is better or which is worse, but just how they work differently. One of the biggest questions or most common questions that I get is which machine is best for sewing Cuddle? And there really is no easy answer to that. There isn't one machine that that's the machine you need. There's a whole bunch of different brands, and there are a whole bunch of different varieties of machines, and there's different price levels. So depending on what you can get by what is in your local area for a dealer and what you can afford, it will really, it'll change which machine you get. But what I want to talk about today are the things that I have found that are important for working with Cuddle and the variety of machines that you can use. So we have an old Singer Featherweight that we're going to be working with. So this one is actually mine. So this is a 1940s model that I got a few years ago, and I love it. You'll see also in the back there I have a zigzagger that is an attachment for it. So I got that, we'll talk about it a little bit more. I got that from Bittersweet Quilt Shop that's in Pinconning, Michigan. And she has a lot of featherweight stuff. So if you are looking for featherweights, then you definitely want to check her out. They've got a bunch of stuff and a lot of extras. So that's always super nice. What are we looking at here? Oh, the foot pedal.
The cute foot.
And, I was like all my stuff in the drawers.
Yeah.
In the cupboard. So the featherweight is what we're going to use. So if you have a featherweight, these will totally work with Cuddle, and we'll show it off. We have the Janome, I can't see the numbers over there. 780 DC. It's a sewist 780 DC. This is what we use for our beginner box project. So if you have seen that, we have a kit that is all beginner box. It's 6 different projects that you can do in this box, and they have tutorials, and this is the machine I used for that. And then if you want to come around this direction, then we also have a Bernina. So this is a Bernina 535 that I have. Okay, so this is a little bit more expensive, not necessarily a starter model, but excellent machine. I use it a bunch. And then we have the Babylock Crescendo. So the Babylock Crescendo, if you've watched Sew Together Tuesday before, you know this is the one I use all the time, and I really love it. So we talk about all 4 of these. So what I want to do, so let's go over and start with the featherweight, and we'll explain some stuff. Okay, so if you have questions, please pop them up there. Hawk will try to manage them, and Michael will send them to me. This is to turn this off. Okay, so what we have here is a little sandwich. So what I did is for each one, I've made a little sandwich that has just a piece of Cuddle that I've cut that we're going to put the 2 sides together. So this would be if you were going to make like a Sew Simple blanket or something where you just have 2 thin layers of Cuddle, and how that's going to work. And I have this for each one. So we're going to sew this. Then we're going to sew like a little quilt sample. So this would be if you were doing a strip quilt, what that would be like. Okay, so this is the Cuddle 3, a Quilter's Dream, Quilter's Dream Poly Request batting and Luxe Cuddle. And then I have a sandwich that is 2 pieces of Luxe Cuddle. All right, so we'll talk about the different ones and how they work. And then we'll go from there. All right, so if you have insight on other ones, we don't have all of the machines here because I don't have all of them. I don't have a Juki, and I only have a FOF 130, which is at a table downstairs, so it wasn't coming up. It's another vintage machine. It works very much like this one. So vintage machines are fabulous, and I love them because they're little workhorses that kind of just go forever. This is, so let me show you. So this is the foot.
I'm working on the light a little bit.
I was like, the light just changed. So this is the normal foot, the foot that it comes with, like a little 1/4 inch foot. Okay. So this is the normal foot that it comes with. I have a Janome gem, and so I took the walking foot off of that one and put it on here. Works totally fine. All right. So you can absolutely put a generic sort of foot on here. It just needs to be the right shank. So there's a slant shank and a high shank and a low shank. So make sure that you're getting the right shank. That's it. So the want to talk about, so the walking foot is just, like I said, I got it from Janome with my gem. This is the presser foot pressure. I want to talk about this on each machine. So this is the one that will change the presser foot pressure on my piece. So let me show you. Oh, thread down. Okay, let me see if I can rewind that. Just sit on there, okay. I don't want to rethread if I don't have to. So one of the things about featherweights that's interesting is when you put the needle in, you put it in sideways. So you thread this direction from right to left. Okay, so I can put this underneath the machine. One of the things about featherweights is they're old, so the presser foot lever doesn't really do much more. I could push it up a little bit and it'll do a tiny bit.
Where's the lever?
In the back here.
I'm going to come around. I want to see that. Sorry.
It's just the thing that lifts up the foot. So this guy here.
Yep.
Okay, it'll barely do a tiny bit more, and then I can squish it underneath. So one of the things that I have found with a lot of machines is that they want to suck the thread under. The featherweight is less likely to do that because it has a single needle, like a single hole in there, which is why we have to show the zigzag later too, because the zigzag is super cool because you can zigzag on these things. So what I like to do when I'm sewing with the featherweight and other ones is I'm just going to get this going. Okay, and then I have this thing to hold onto while I'm sewing. So I'm going to go ahead and pin this and sew it and show you guys. Oh, I need to get more.
I want to come around again.
Okay.
There we go. It's a dance in here today, folks.
It is.
With 4 machines in here, we've got a whole new set of moves.
It's true. It's true. Okay, so I've got my little piece, double pinned it. Okay, same way I would normally do. Then I'm going to get this to sew forward just a little. I'm going to tuck this guy underneath. Okay. Oh, and I had this. So I wanted to show you this too. So this is my little, I don't know what you call this, a guide for the seam allowance guide. Okay. So if I put this at my 1/2 inch mark, that's where my 1/2 inch is. Okay. At the edge of that. So there are ways of dealing with that. I'm going to show you one of them. Is this guy, which is actually off my FOF, which you can see. It says FOF on it.
I love that all these early manufacturers, their parts seem to be so interchangeable.
Yeah, they were just like, hey, just sew. Okay. So you can go ahead and put this on here and get your 1/2 inch seam allowance. Let's be a 1/2 inch. Okay. I have a red plastic one that does the same thing, but I don't know what happened to it in my travels last year. Okay. So I've got my 1/2 inch seam allowance, got my walking foot on, I said just a generic walking foot, and I've got my stitch length all the way down. Okay, so the way that these work is this little guy will twist and make it a shorter stitch length. So these are the, I don't know if you can see the numbers very well, but these are the numbers that are stitches per inch. Okay, so I want to make this, I'm going to twist this down so it'll just go big. So it's kind of like a basting stitch, but that's what we want when we're sewing with Cuddle. Okay. So you can see with the walking foot, it totally works just fine. All right. I'm going to come around, clip this, and I'm going to stick this guy back under here.
Wait, this machine doesn't cut the thread for you?
No, it's not crazy. I know. But you can see it does very nice stitches. Okay. Excellent. Fed it through just fine. 2 layers, no big deal. All right. Okay. So let's move to the other one. Oh, and I showed you this. So this will change the presser foot pressure. So you can loosen it and tighten it. Okay.
And most of the time with Cuddle, what you're doing is
loosening it. Loosening it. So the older machines tend to like clamp down really hard sometimes. So I had to change that. On this machine, this is the little Janome, and the presser foot pressure on this is here. So it's this little rolly guy. So every machine, not every machine is different, but machines are different. So make sure that you are checking out your manual to see how to do it. So I'm just going to change it down to a 2. Let me show you. We did this a week ago or 2 weeks ago. then I can show you. So if I put this down on, I'm going to put this in just a little bit more. I'm going to put this in here so I can pull it. I'm going to put my foot down. There we go. And I'm going to put the presser foot pressure up. Okay, so now it's on a 6. Now if I pull this, like I'm tugging.
And the needle's not down.
The needle is not down, okay? Because if I do that, I'll just snap the needle. This is the foot holding it in place.
Wow.
Okay, so the foot is just holding it down. Try to get it repositioned. Now I'm going to spin that back. I'm going to put it on 1, and then we're going to do it, and I'm just going to pull it out. Okay, so that's the difference, is that it will hold it down. So if you're having trouble with it pushing the fabric forward and puckering, usually that is related to the presser foot pressure being too much, because what happens is it pushes down on the fabric and then just pushes this forward. So the bottom is feeding fine, but the top is just holding on really as tight as it can, and we don't want it to do that. So we always want to lighten that up. Find my about a 1/2 inch here. Okay, I'm going to put that back on 2 because I want to hold down just a little bit. And I'm going to hold onto the thread. So on the other one, you saw I did the little fabric, and I'm going to do it differently on this one to show you what the difference is. I can't find my bobbin thread now. Hopefully that'll pull up. There we go. Hold on, I got to get my fingers in here. And this is the same presser foot.
You mentioned earlier that the other one was your Janome gem walking foot. And I said, that looks just like this.
It looks just like it. Yep, because they're both, I got them both.
I love it that one attachment will work on 2 machines that were built 70 years apart.
Right, exactly. Okay, so I want to hold on to this because what happens a lot of times when you're sewing is that the thread kind of gets sucked in and you get like the big nest down there at the end. If you hold your thread or you use just a little leader ender, you'll be much better off. Just get it going. We're just going to work our way down. What do we have our stitch at? So this is at smaller. I want to up that. Let's do it at 3. I was like, that's stitching too small. So I always want to bring it up to a 3 or 3.5. Okay. So you'll see how those stitches got longer. So this was at 2.5, which isn't really, sorry, it's really dark. This isn't really 2.5 millimeters. It's teenier than that. But because it doesn't feed through as nicely. So this is how your stitches should look. This is not how your stitches should look, okay? And that's partly from me just not getting the stitch lengthened up there. So let's try, I'll do it one more time across here at 3.5 and see what difference that makes. Okay.
Hey guys, I see your question about how to change the bobbin in the featherweight, and we are going to circle the table a couple of times, and when we get back over there, I will ask her to do so. I think I just did, actually. Nice work, everybody. Yeah.
All right. Yep, we can totally do that. Okay, so this is at 3.5. We'll see if that stitch is nicer. So it really is a matter, and see a nice little scissor thing on this one.
Yeah.
All right. So here we go. That's the stitch on this. So 3.5 worked beautifully on this. This is a great stitch length. All right. So that's on the Janome. Works out great. You saw it fed through just fine. All right. Are you ready to go around to the Bernina?
Sure. Let's do that.
Okay. So you go that way. I'll go this way.
Okie dokie.
We'll do the dance here. All right. I'm going to do the same thing with this one that I did with the featherweight with the little bit of fabric. Okay. I'm going to get my thread over here and I'm just going to sew on this just a bit, just to get it sort of tacked in. Okay. So I have this to hold on to. I have found that the Bernina likes to suck the fabric in more than I want it to. So I start with a little piece of fabric. So I'm going to do this one at a 3 and see how that goes. And then we'll up it to a 3.5 partway through. Okay. The Bernina foot is different. And we can show you that in a minute, but you can see this one has a hook over this. If you notice on the other ones, the others had just a bar that went over the top. This one actually has like the prong that goes over the needle screw.
Okay, I'm going to come around a little bit, and we're going to swing.
So swing the light around.
Swing our fancy light.
Okay. Show you our crazy studio. Okay, so now we've got a light on here. All right, so the walking foot here has the little prong that goes over. It has a bigger walking foot, and it is specifically for Bernina. There's no note on the other one that it's specifically for anything. So this one is very much for Bernina, and it's usually an additional purchase. So there are a few machines I think that come with it, but generally it's extra, and it can range from $100 to $200 for the walking foot. So I'm going to stick this in. I always like to say that the edge is about a 1/2 inch, as long as you can see this, which you could see the mark here. There's the 1/2 inch mark.
Nope.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, so there's the 1/2 inch mark, and it can sit right on that edge. So this is what when you're using a Bernina walking foot, especially, it's just really the right size for the 1/2 inch, because you will always want to see this little edge. So if you come around here, you can see that little edge poking out to the side. That's what we want to do. See this little edge of fabric right there.
Oh, okay.
You always want to see your raw edge. Okay. All right. So
I'm actually we're gonna dance again. There we go.
all right. So I'm just gonna sew this. Okay, this is at 3, and I'm going to bump it up to 3.5. Where's my stiletto when I need it? Okay, this one, of course, has the little thread cutter, which is probably the best invention ever, I think. Okay.
Other than maybe the auto needle threader?
Oh, the cutter is way better, in my opinion.
All right.
I don't use the auto threader very often. So this was the 3, and it's actually much smaller. So it's more like the 2.5 on the Janome. Okay. And then this is a little bit better. So I'm going to try it one more time and up it to a 4 and see if I like that better. So you can see it's just different for all the machines all the time. So make sure that you are checking yours and seeing how it works. With this one, I want to make sure I've got the thread, and I had it and then I lost it again. There it is. I want to make sure that the thread is back here so it doesn't get sucked under and create a little bird's nest for me. Okay. I'm going to go up to a 4. It's going to do a little lock stitch, which I love. Okay. I'm going to get that thread tucked under and back there. And we'll see how that works. Okay, so the thing is, if I do this and I don't like it, because this is what we're trying to do is get like the perfect stitch. Oh, that's great. Okay, that's a 4. On this one, if I want to change the presser foot, oh yeah, there you go. You can see it really nicely. So this is a great stitch right here. Okay, this is still a little bit too small. So on this one, if we come around to here, this is how we change the presser foot pressure. Okay. So on the other one, there was the top spinny thing, and then there was the little roller bar, and then this one is a notcher down here. You just spin this around. Okay, so this gets heavier, lighter, and just change it until it gets to the point that you think it feeds through nicely. All right. So you can do that same test where I did, where you put it down and then pull it, and it should be able to slide out is what you want. You want to be able to pull it out from underneath the foot. All right, so then we come over here. This is the Babylock. This is the one I know so well. We're to stick this under at a 1/2 inch. Keep my thread tail back there straight, and a 3 stitch length. And it also does a little lock stitch and then moves forward. This one is different because it's a digital dual feed, and so it actually has like a belt back there that pulls it through. Okay. So that's the 3 stitch length there, which is great.
Can we do a comparison of all 4 of those correct stitch lengths together?
Yep. So this is the Babylock, and that was set at 3. This is the Bernina that's set at 4, which is the one that I preferred. Bring it over here. This is the, see if we can get it. This was the Janome, and this one I think I set it up to 3.5. And this was the Featherweight that was set down at the lowest, which is 7 stitches per inch. Is what it's supposed to be. Okay.
Yep.
So this look is what we got from all of these. It took a little bit of time to get them perfected on each one. So there is no one perfect. So we always say start at 3 and then move on up for your stitch length, because like I said, the crescendo did it at 3 just fine. We had to play with the other ones to get it to be, except for the featherweight, and it did just great too.
Got it. So it's not the number, it's actually the result.
It's the result. It's the stitch, what the stitch looks like, which is what we want to figure out, is what that actually looks like. Okay, so let's come back around. I'm gonna move this light once more. So thanks, Daylight, for making such great lights. We move all over the place. I love these guys. They are big and they swing everywhere. Okay, so we're back to the Singer. So now we want to do, if we were making a strip quilt, is what this is. So now I have the issue where this guy has to come off because I can't have this 1/2 inch here. Okay, so sometimes you just have to eyeball it. This is going to be one of those times. My little bag o' Singer stuff. So at this point, I'm just going to, I know that that stitch length worked really well. So I'm going to stitch forward. So I have my little leader ender. And I'm going to lift my foot and work this underneath it. Okay. This one is the batting, the luxe hide on the back, and then 2 layers of Cuddle. So I didn't cut it. I just folded it in half because I was lazy.
Expedient.
So one of the things that I think is interesting is you'll notice where the needle comes down does not look like the center of the foot. It isn't the center of the foot. It's not even that it doesn't look like it, but it isn't the center of the foot. And that's okay. Don't panic. Okay. Featherweights only, the needle can only go down in one place because they only have the single hole. But you can see this guy kind of powers through that just fine. All right. Nice stitch length. I'm going to put this back over here. Do a little.
While we're here, can we talk about that bobbin?
Oh, yeah. So, yeah. So anyway, that looks great. This would just fold over and be the next row. All right. You can see how nicely that looks back there. Okay.
Whoa. That was exciting.
Yeah. I don't know if that was for them or just for us.
I don't know.
Okay. All right. So the featherweight. Oh, I did turn the light on. Okay.
Apparently, I can't turn the phone all the way sideways.
So the bobbin, I have to cut the thread. The bobbin goes backwards from other bobbins. So I think this is part that really confuses people. Oh, no, that one's the only one that's a front loader. So it's a front load bobbin, and the bobbin spins the opposite direction of what you think it will. Most of the time they spin clockwise. This one doesn't. It's going to come up. So you want it to come back toward this little line that's here. So that little line in there, you want it to come backward into that. It'll come up and then get popped in there. Okay, just in the side here. There we go. Okay, now I'm going to come back over here. Sorry, I have to move this. Okay, now I can make sure those are caught. Yep. Now I've got my little thread tails ready to go. So if I take this off for you real quick so I can show you. Because I have actually sewn entire projects on this guy when I was traveling. So it's totally doable. This is the needle hole. So you can see there's just a single needle hole. All right. And that means that you can't do zigzags. Point it right there. It's just a single hole. All right, so you can't do a zigzag with this machine as is. I'll show you the zigzag foot at the end. Like that's a little bonus because I think it's awesome, and it works. So that's how that one works. This little bar, we'll put this on. I'll show you. This goes over that bar. Let's see if I can do this. There we go. Oh, I'm gonna lose them.
I realize that I am basically where she wants to be.
Yeah, and I'm totally gonna stick my hand over there because I can't hold it otherwise.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay, I got a shot.
If anything, I wish is that the screw length of that was longer so it would hold in while I put the foot on. It always has to come off all the way. Okay. All right, so there, the foot is back on, ready to go. Ta-da. All right, so now we've got this one figured out. We want to see how that one, you can see that one just kind of worked right through those layers, no problem. I can't lift that foot up any higher. This one has the perk of having a little lift up. So the presser foot lever is here on this one. So you'll find that they change depending on the machine. 3 of them are on the back. 1 of them is on the side here. And I can lift this up quite a bit and get this underneath it. So I can get it positioned like I want it to. Okay. I'm also going to grab the thread, make sure that it's not going to do too much craziness under there. And we're just going to sew. Oh, so this reminds me. So this machine, it just beeped because I tried to sew without putting the foot down. This looks like the foot is down. If your machine doesn't beep and let you know that the foot isn't down, it looks like it is. And we had a comment on I Love Cuddle earlier this morning, and I was like, I think that's a not foot down problem when you get a whole bunch of thread at the bottom because it doesn't have the pressure that it needs to do what it's supposed to do. So it can totally happen. Not all machines will beep and tell you that the foot isn't down. Okay. So now you can see it's not a huge visual difference on when the foot is down and when it isn't. Okay. So this doesn't want to move quite as nicely as I want it to. So I'm just going to keep a hand back here and kind of guide it through and make sure it's going where I want it to. Okay, clip my thread. So I just kind of guide it through. You can see it was not wanting to come through very easily. And as soon as I put a little hand on it, I can get it to stitch just fine. Okay, so that's definitely something that you can use for your benefit, is use that little hand to guide it. It also helps keep it straighter. Okay, so that worked. All right, you ready to go to the Bernina?
Sure.
Okay.
I'm following you around this time because I'm going to end up on the other, on the right side.
Get rid of my pins.
Also, we're going to swing the light back around again.
Swing it. Okay. There we go. All right. So now we got the same thing. This is on the Bernina. We have a 4 stitch length because that's what we found worked really nicely. So we're going to see if it works really nicely on this one. You remember I just want it just past the edge of the foot. So I just want to keep that raw edge. It's a folded edge for me today, but it would be the raw edge normally. Okay. And this one feeds through pretty nicely. I'm still going to keep my hand back here and not pull it at all. I'm just going to kind of guide it so that it's fairly straight. Okay, for me, I found that if I don't have a hand here and here, I'm not carefully handling it, what happens is it wants to start to swish one way or the other. Usually it's this way, and then I end up trying to fight it the whole time. So if I keep a hand back here, it's a little bit easier to get it to come through straight. Okay, so that was a 4. Worked pretty darn nice. Okay, so that's a really great stitch length right there. And that was, come right here and show the presser foot pressure again. So this is down pretty low. Okay, so I know on Bernina's people always ask me, where do you set it? And I'm like, I don't know, somewhere around there.
Right,
So,
there's no numbers. There's no way to really talk about the...
Right. And really, it just depends.
Settings.
So when you're doing thicker, so like when you do the binding on a quilt, you might want to change that so it's a little bit less even to get that through because you're going to have even more layers. All right.
I like the test, the physical test of can you pull the fabric out from under the foot?
Yes.
Then you don't have to worry about what the setting is as long as it's working.
It'll move, and that's what we really want. So this is the Babylock. The 1/2 inch on this is just basically the outside edge of this foot. If you watch Sew Together Tuesday very often, you note that I usually do things at 3/8 of an inch. Okay. And this, once it catches, it's going to pull it through really nicely. That little belt that's back here, you can kind of see in there. There's a little belt, little black belt in there. And it just pulls the fabric right along. Okay. So I kind of use my hand either back here or to the side to keep it coming through straight. Same idea. Okay, so you can just see how they work differently. There we go. Depending on it, nice big stitches. Okay, and that's really what we want because if I should have to take this out, I don't really want to go find under teeny tiny little stitches. So these work great. All right. So we're going to put these over here. You ready to go back around?
Sure.
Okay, any questions that I need to answer there yet?
Gosh, there's probably a bunch of them. Honestly, the questions this morning are going by really fast, guys, and I'm doing a little extra on the camera work, so I'm missing some questions. Okay. So let's see if the rest of our team can pop some questions up in our private chat, because there were a bunch of them that went by that I probably missed.
Okay. All right, thanks for getting that under there. Okay, so now once we're here, this is having a harder time getting under here, okay? Because it's big, right? And it's fluffier, it's thicker, it doesn't want to go right underneath the foot. Like I said, with the featherweight, it just moves the teeny tiniest little bit. So all I do is I just smush it down. I just smush it and slide it under there. Kind of work it under, get it where you want it to be.
But at some point, there's going to be a maximum
Yeah,
thickness of
like
sandwich.
I couldn't really do a binding on this. I don't think I could get it all the way underneath the foot and have it work the way I want it to. So, but I can do this. I'm pretty sure I can do this level. Okay, so also the backwards on this, if you want to go in reverse, you just stick it all the way up, goes backwards, put it back down.
I love it. Forward, reverse.
Okay, and you can see
That's
this actually,
get.
like, it powers through really well. Like, I don't even really have to do anything, and it's just like, burp. These little machines are great. I love them. Okay, do a little back stitch again, go right off. Okay, look at those beautiful stitches. That's what everybody always says about the featherweight, is the stitches are just beautiful, and they really are.
On all of these machines, are we using the same needle?
Same needle, 80 or a 9014 stretch needle, and they're all Metler thread. Yep.
Specifically polyester thread for the knit fabric.
Polyester, yep. The Metler Metricine is what we have. So yeah, we've done the same thing in all of them. That looks great. I'm very happy with that. Okay, so now we're going to come over here and try it with the Janome and see how that is. So remember that these are the same walking feet too. So the way that these behave differently is about the machine itself, which is kind of interesting. So this one I can lift it up, slide it underneath, no problem. Get that under there. Okay. Put that down. We're going to hope for the best because my thread isn't long enough. I do a little reverse there if I want. Okay. This works through really nicely as well. Okay. I think it's a little bit louder. There we go. Do a little back stitch. Pull it out. Beautiful little stitches. Okay. And again, this is what your stitches should look like. This nice big stitch.
What's that up there? That's just your back stitch?
That's my thread tail getting messed up in my back stitch. Yeah.
Cool. And not a problem, just a thing that happens.
No, I just pulled it.
Great.
We're good. Yeah, we don't want the big ugly nest, but this is totally fine. Great stitches. So this is really what we want it to look like when we're stitching. All right, and you could see when I'm doing this, like, I definitely keep a hand and guide it. So if you're having really crooked stitches, it's just because you need to get your hand more involved. All right.
So we did have a question about now that we're back to the Bernina.
Okay.
We do the light rodeo.
The light rodeo, exactly.
Got it. What was this walking foot? Is that the only walking foot that Bernina makes, or are they specific to the machine?
They have specific to the machine. So there are several different walking feet that will fit on differently. So I have some older feet that don't work on this machine because they're for a slightly different opening here. So Bernina stuff is specifically for them and for the machine that you have. So make sure that you talk to a dealer. The biggest thing I think when you're trying to find a machine is to make sure that you find a place that has a dealership near you so that you can actually get the help and the feet and the service that you need. So you can see this walking foot doesn't have big grips on it, okay? You can see it's pretty flat. It grabs it because it has some grippy feel to it, but it doesn't have the grab. I'm gonna pull this one off really quick.
Got it. So this one is the one you're about to show us is almost like an upside down feed dog.
Yes. And so basically they all work like as if they were upside down feed dogs. Let me see if I can bring this over here and see it in the light a little bit. Okay. You see the grippy bits on there? Okay. These parts will grab onto the fabric. On some machines, these grippy bits are a little too much for Cuddle. And so sometimes people have like sanded them down just like with an emery board or a little sandpaper and get them to be not quite so grippy. This is great. These have worked fine. I've had zero problem with these at all. But sometimes that grip can be a little much. This one is interesting. So if you look at it, there's no grippy bits on it. The grippiness is in the actual type of material that it is, which is kind of a rubbery sort of stuff. It might be rubber for all I know. But it grips the fabric that way instead of actually grabbing to it. It holds it with the rubbery bit. Okay. And then with the Babylock, it's actually a loop there. Okay.
The little belt drive.
Yeah. Okay. Stick that underneath there again. goes up over that little cone and sits up underneath. And then there's a little lock thing. So this one is nice because you don't have to undo a screw. So there we go. So it has this little lever. Think. Okay. That locks it in place. All right. So pull that up. Here's my little thread tail. I'm going to give this one a try. So one of the things too, we were talking about the presser foot, and sometimes I have found when I'm doing Luxe Cuddle hide like blankets, like this would be like for doing the throw, that sometimes I've found that it will be a little too moving because it's so loose in here that it'll start sliding around. So then you just up your presser foot pressure a little bit and it will hold better. And then I'm less likely to be able to move it. Okay. So this moves through beautifully. Okay, I just want to keep a hand so that I can guide it and make it straight. And keep it, like I said, just kind of popping out the side. The nice thing about sewing with Cuddle is most of the time you don't have to worry about that seam allowance being perfectly a ½ inch. Okay, nice, big, beautiful stitches. Look at that.
Let's see the other side.
Yay.
Of that. Nice.
Beautiful. Okay, perfect. So all of these have worked totally fine on all of them, which is great. They do work differently, which I think is interesting. So again, that was at a 4 stitch length, okay, because that seemed to work a little bit better on the Bernina. This one is at a 3 stitch length. We're going to see how that works and then compare the two. Just one more time.
Does Babylock have a regular designed walking foot, or do they only offer the dual feed with the belt drive?
I don't know. I would assume on the lower end ones, it's probably a regular walking foot.
Okay.
Which works differently, and I do find that I really love this. The only thing that ever is a problem is the size of this guy back here is big, and so like when we do stuffed animals, sometimes it gets in the way. But really, that's it. It does move the fabric really nicely underneath it. So that's a 3 stitch length here. Okay, so let's compare. Oops, sorry. Let's compare. This was the one on the Bernina, and this is the one on the Babylock, which you can see they're perfectly great stitches. Both of them handled it really, really well. The only thing that's different is that this was set at a 4 and this one was set at a 3. So that's what we're talking about. Like, it's not about the number. It's about what the stitch looks like. So start it at one number and just find the stitch that looks good. So that's what you want, is nice big stitch. And if you have to make it into a 4, make it a 4. Like, it's not any... People are sometimes afraid to make it a 4 or 4.5 sometimes on machines. That's okay. I know that seems like a basting stitch, but you can see how it turns out, and it's not. It's going to hold really nicely. All right. So make sure that you're, checking out the stitch quality and not necessarily the stitch number. All right. So I want to show you the zigzag on over here. So we're going to come back over. We're going to come around the table one more time. So I want to come back over here and I want to show you the little zigzagger, because one of the things about featherweights is that they do not do a zigzag unless you have a whole attachment to it, which I got this one at Bittersweet, which is a store I mentioned earlier that has a lot of featherweight stuff, and they do classes and they sell machines and they've got all of the stuff that goes along with it, all of these little attachments and everything, which are super cool. So this is the zigzagger. I got this from her when I was out teaching there a couple years ago, and I love this thing. It's so industrial looking. Okay, so it has the same thing where it's going to go over my needle screw. If I can get that, there we go. Okay. Oh, I was going to mention too, one of the things that people have mentioned is that their needle falls out when they use a walking foot. And the reason for that is how it sits on there. I want it to grab, come on. Hold on, gotta get, okay, there we go. Is how it sits on here, and it kind of wiggles, it wiggles this the whole time. So if your needle is not in really tight, it will sometimes wiggle your needle loose. And I have definitely had that happen. So yeah, make sure that when you do that, if you have a screwdriver that you can use to screw your to screw in your needle screw, this one does. It has a little spot. I'm pretty sure. Oops. Yeah, right here I have a little thing.
It's so lightweight.
I know. This is not made for bending.
It rocks and
so
rolls.
I can get that on there. It's really tight. The other ones, let me see. The Janome has a little spot for the screwdriver. The Bernina does not, and the Babylock does. So if they don't, you just have to try to twist it really hard. It's something that I just kind of keep an eye on is my needle and make sure that my needle hasn't worked itself loose. I've definitely had it because I don't always screw it in with a screwdriver. I've definitely had it work itself loose. And then all of a sudden my needle has fallen out into the project I'm working on, which is pretty funny.
So this light that we keep swinging back and forth is by Daylight.
It's Daylight.
And I don't remember the exact model. But
I think it's a Luminous. I think it's what it's called.
Got it. And we also have the other one over there on the Babylock, which is a slim line.
Right.
And then you just got something really cool for your Singer, right? We got a replacement bulb for the Singer. I want to blow everybody's eyes out, but check that out. That is an LED replacement bulb for a 1947 machine.
Yeah, and I think that they, I was talking with Tina from Bittersweet yesterday, and she was saying that there are different light bulbs for the white sewing machines, the Singer Featherweights that are white, not white brand, and the tan and the black machines have their own kind of light bulb. So make sure that when you get a light bulb for it, you're asking for the right kind. So that was news to me that I was like, oh, I didn't realize that. Okay, so now we've got the little zigzagger on. This little guy's pushed down.
Oh, show us about that cog in the back.
I will in just a second. I want to show how this works first. Okay, so this is how this works.
I'm
and it's a little bit funky. I love the zigzagger foot because it's just so crazy. The buttonholer works basically the same way. Because if you remember, there's just one hole down here for the needle to go in. And a zigzag, we need a bigger hole, like it usually is a slice, so the needle can move back and forth, back and forth. Well, this time the needle isn't going to move back and forth. The fabric is. So we have the stitch length is still really long. I have it at the widest width. Come on, little guy. Oh, it's stuck. We replaced the bobbin, didn't we?
We did.
And then I don't think I got it in there quite right. Dang it. Okay, we're going to try it again, guys. My needle is stuck. Hold on. I should have tested it before I did this. There we go. Yeah, the bobbin is messed up.
Okay.
There we go. See that?
Oh, hey, nice nest.
Yeah, it's beautiful, right? Okay. Everybody's like, oh, I've seen that before.
It looks like something you would find near a serger.
See, that's what happens when I don't test it out on a little piece of cotton first. Okay. Hold on. Make sure I got this in right. So really the biggest thing when your machine is giving you issues is rethread, rethread, rethread. Okay. That seems to be right. If I don't get this to work, I'm going to be so sad because I love this little zigzagger. I was playing with it yesterday. It's pretty good considering I can't see the hole from this side. The hole is over there. So remember, you threaded it sideways on the featherweight.
Oh, and not front to back.
Not front to back.
Got it.
Which makes it really kind of weird.
Oh, wow.
So it's easier to see on this anyway.
The needle doesn't move. It moves the fabric back and forth.
Right. Which makes it so like doing it on Cuddle is hard because it's really thick and you would need a walking foot kind of thing that does this. But check that out. It does a little zigzag. I'll try it again on the Cuddle and see if I can get it to work. But it's super great. Like I said, the buttonholer is kind of similar. Get the, where's the 2-layer one? That'll probably be better. See if I can get it. Let's do it this way. Like we would if we were actually going to zigzag.
Right, because you would usually only zigzag to top stitch.
Right, exactly. So let's see if we can get it to work. I played with it yesterday on cotton. So I definitely have to pull it to get it to work. And then it makes it a very tight little zigzag. But it's possible. That's what it's possible, you guys. This would actually be super great for doing applique.
I was
totally
gonna, I
work
was
for
gonna say it
applique.
looks like a satin stitch.
Yeah, it's not quite that little, but it is definitely smaller. So you can see that one I had to kind of tug it with the thread tails. So leaving your thread tails is good for that sort of thing. But this was the stitch. Nope, that's not it. Where's my fabric that I had? Here it is. There's the zigzag when it was on cotton and the zigzag when it was on Cuddle. So it doesn't move because it's not made to move the Cuddle through the fabric. That's the thing with the walking foot. The walking foot is made to bring the fabric through. When I'm using a foot like the zigzagger, it's really just meant to zigzag the fabric and not bring it through. So that's why we get such a tighter stitch. The walking foot, this is a great example of what the walking foot actually does and how well that walking foot makes a difference in bringing the fabric through the machine. So if you don't have one on your machine, it can make a huge difference in what you do. This one, the way that this works, the thing that you were talking about is the cog thing back here, is if I move this little lever up, it'll actually, oops, I need to put it down. Oops. Hold on, I have to move the needle to the middle. I missed it. I have to try again. There we go. And then I put the cog in there, up there. And then it should sew just a straight line. Yeah.
Nice. So on the fly, you can switch back and forth between a straight stitch and a zigzag.
Totally. But you could see how teeny tiny that stitch is right there.
That's trying to cut the fabric.
That's a tiny little stitch. And this is set exactly the same as it was for the stitch that I've now hidden under there. What does it say? Yeah, this is it. So this was the stitch that it did before, and with the walking foot on it, and then without the walking foot, it did it like this. This tiny little stitch that I can barely see because it's so tiny. Okay, because the zigzagger
was set at the maximum,
at the same stitch length,
which was the maximum for the machine, basically.
Right.
Right.
So it's the same. That's like it makes a difference. The walking foot makes a big difference. So some people are like say that it really doesn't change anything, but it really can. So I'm going to switch this off. Okay, and then did any questions come up? There we go. Is the digital dual feed walking foot the only walking foot with interchangeable presser feet? Meaning to be able to use a walking foot with a zigzag stitch? No, you can. I use the Bernina one has 2 other sole plates. That's what they call it for the walking foot. That'll let you do top stitching really easily. And the other one is probably for applique because it's extra wide open. Let's go over and look at that one really quick, actually. So this is the other foot. I was going to show you that really quick because this has just smooth on the bottom. It's not going to help feed the fabric through either. Okay. All right. Are we ready?
Yep.
All right, so we're going to come back over. So I'll show you the difference. So on this one, take this walking foot off. So this foot, the other one, I think the feet come down here, open wider, okay, so that you can do like a satin stitch or whatever. There's also one that has the little dividing line, which is like this one. So this is the foot that goes for the Babylock Crescendo's digital dual feed that has the edge stitch.
Oh, there's the stitch in the ditch.
Right. So this one, this comes off super duper easy. I just pop it off and pop it onto the bottom. With this one, I have to unscrew it here, take this sole plate off, put the new one on, re-screw it in, and then you can use it. But it does come with 3 different sole plates. So there are different ones that you can stick on there. Somebody asked, do you use different machines for certain materials or the same machine? I do use different machines for different purposes. I sew this one with the Bernina and the Crescendo. I do the Cuddle, and I do cotton a lot on this one. I mostly do Cuddle or cotton on my Featherweight, except for when I'm traveling. So because it does smaller ones. I did the Read to Me book on the Featherweight, which was fun.
Okay.
So yeah, it's totally doable. So I hope that answers the question for that.
I got a great question here.
Okay.
If you were going to build your own sewing machine, what would you add or subtract?
Oh gosh, that's a good one.
Boom.
Yeah. Oh, I know what I have to have. So part of getting a machine, if you're looking for a new machine, I always say buy the best that you can afford, and maybe just a little bit more than you can afford. It's better to grow into a machine. terrible to grow out of a machine and be frustrated by it because you want it to do more. So buy the better ones. For me, the thing like the thread cutter is huge. If you are someone who can sit down while you sew, which I have, and I just stand to sew here. I do have my studio downstairs too, but I've definitely sat to sew. The knee lift is so great. So if you have a knee lift, that's a winner too. I think I don't like, I'm trying to think of what would I want to do in a machine. I kind of think like, oh, like the automatic where they kind of can tell what your fabric is. That would be nice, but also they might be wrong about what they thought my fabric was and what it needed. So maybe not that. But the thread cutter is really important to me. And then being able to change that presser foot pressure. So if you have not bought a machine or you are looking to buy a machine, making sure that you can change that presser foot pressure is really important. And it's not just for sewing with Cuddle. It's when you're sewing with anything that's a thick fabric or a really thin fabric. Because if you're working with something like a silk or a charmeuse or something, you want to be able to kind of slam that presser foot down to hold the fabric because it's so slick that it wants to move out. So you want to hold it down harder. Whereas thick fabrics, you want to loosen them up like with fleece or minky, that sort of thing. So it can really change depending on that. Is there another question?
Yeah. Let me.
Sort of look like you were going to ask.
Where did it go? It's gone. I'm scrolling.
It's okay. Scrolling.
Oh, okay. We're not gonna spend a lot of time talking about. We said we wouldn't spend a lot of time talking about other brands, but what do you know about Viking?
I don't really know anything about Viking. I think my mom had a Viking for a long time. I want to say that it's owned by a group of, like that they do a bunch of them together. I have not had any problems working with FOFs. They've been fine. They have a system called an IDT, if I remember the name correctly, and somebody can fix that for me if they do. It's a automatic built-in sort of even feed thing. I can't remember what the whole thing stands for, but I've used those in classes like Road to California. We use those. The biggest thing I found with that, and the same with the Bernina that has the even feed, is that you really, really need to make sure that you're holding onto the thread because it will want to kind of suck it in a little bit more. And it's just the way that works. And I think that they're made maybe by it's the same umbrella company. I'm not really sure, but there are lots of brands. Yeah.
Your mom would like to know, how do you change the presser foot pressure on the Babylock?
Oh, we didn't talk about that. Hi, Mom.
That'd be one Peggy Helton.
Right. So right over here. So this is in the settings. So in this little thing down here at the bottom is the settings. And in the first section, you're going to have a presser foot pressure, which you can see is grayed out right now because I have the digital dual feed on. Okay. So the dual feed adjustment is here. And so this will help. This is what actually isn't a pressure down. This is how much the belt drags it through. So that's what this changes. The presser foot pressure doesn't really adjust with when you're using the digital dual feed, but it does when you're using regular feet on it.
But it does seem like you might be able to change the height. That's not grayed out.
Which one?
Presser foot
right.
height.
Oh, totally. Yep. You can bring this down and it will get smaller. So let me see. We'll do this. And we'll see what a difference it makes. So that's the presser foot height is down. So that means if I lift it, it won't lift very much. And then I can lift it a lot more. I'm pretty sure that's what that means. Yep. So it raises it higher. That's what that does. I don't know if you guys can tell. So it raises it a little bit more.
These differences are pretty small.
They're pretty small. So let's see.
To be able to see them.
It's millimeters. Like literally we're talking millimeters here. Okay. So this is what we did a couple of weeks ago, and we did it with the dual feed adjustment and talked about how that holds it down and keeps it a little bit in place a little bit more. So I'm just trying to see if that will change anything. So I'm going to up this as high as it will go and see what difference that makes. A little bit, but not much. So what I have found is with the digital dual feed, the biggest thing is that this guy back here, sometimes it will bunch up. And of course it didn't do it today when I tried to show you guys. So let me see if I start sewing over here, if it'll do it. One thing I found is that you need to put it all the way underneath the machine, put it all the way under the foot. But as it hits this, sometimes, will it do it? Come on, bunch up, bunch up. There we go. I'll make it bunch up. It'll sort of do this thing back here.
Oh,
so
I
you see
it.
this?
Hang on. I want to come around to the back.
So this is one of the things that will happen sometimes because of the digital dual feedback here. All you have to do is pick that up, pop it back down. Okay. Once it's under this and once that little belt grabs it, then you're A-okay. You just kind of
Can you make it bunch up again while I'm back here?
I don't know. Let me see. If I hold it.
Oh, it's doing it.
There we go.
It's like that ghost,
See, and
the
once
ghost
it catches,
noise in your car, right?
Right.
You can't make it do it in front of the mechanic.
No. But once it starts doing it, it'll just keep doing it. So I can keep sewing it. It's just going to keep going. And then pretty soon it starts getting really tiny stitches. You're like, what the what? All you have to do is lift this and let it out. Okay. This little thing is another part that, right here is another part that people get confused with. If you do this, it makes the belt come up and disengages the belt. So it won't drag it through.
Okay.
So let's see if we sew it that way, what difference it makes. Definitely not feeding through as fast. Let's see if I can get that. Yeah, it feeds nicer. There we go. Okay. So there really are just different ways of dealing with the product. I found that the more strong the motor is or whatever, it will make a difference on being able to do certain things like the bindings, or when we're doing things where there's a lot of layers. Even when there's a lot of layers and I'm doing it on the Crescendo, which is a higher end machine, I will still have to crank it through sometimes because it's a lot of layers. Like it'll be 3/8 of an inch underneath the foot. I'm like, all right, I'm just going to slowly do this and make it go through. So just be kind to your machine. Like I'm saying, like we did the same thing on all 4 machines. All 4 machines did it. The only thing that the Featherweight really can't do is a top stitch zigzag is going to be a little bit harder because it's not going to be as nice. Okay. Anything where you're using a straight stitch, it's absolutely going to work. So it really is kind of a matter of figuring out your machine and how to make it work best for you. So the things that are important are making sure that you're using a walking foot, changing the presser foot pressure, lightening that up. Okay, using a new 9014 stretch needle, using polyester thread, and then also keeping a hand. So you've seen that on all the machines. I do that. I keep a hand on the other side of it to kind of bring it through. I'm not really pulling it. Sometimes I have to put a little bit of pressure and be like, come on, let's go. But most of the time I'm just kind of guiding it in the right direction so it will keep feeding through. It's a thicker fabric and sometimes it doesn't want to come through quite as easily, but it's totally doable. So any machine, maybe not any machine, most machines will work just fine. Like I said, there's no machine that I can say totally is the best machine ever. And there are no machines that I'm like, it's the worst. I will say that I have worked with Foff, I have worked with Babylock, with Brother, with Singer Featherweights, with Janome, Bernina. What was the other one? I've worked with Jukies. I've worked with all sorts of machines, and they've all worked. You just kind of have to manipulate things just a little bit. The biggest problems that we have are usually related to threading or bobbin issues, just like you saw with the Featherweight, like the bobbin. I don't know what I did wrong. I have no idea. I just took it out, cut the thread, rethreaded it, put the bobbin back in. We're good to go. And that will often solve a lot of problems when you're working with machines. So any other questions that I need to answer? We're good?
Oh, I'm sure that we missed a ton. We will go back through all of the comments after the show and hopefully get a chance to answer anybody's questions that got missed.
Exactly. But hopefully that answers some of your questions on which machine. Like it isn't necessarily about the specific machine. Also, a dealer that's nearby, a place that you can get service, a place that you can get classes, those are all great. So if you've got a dealership near you for any of those, any of the good brands, then any of the brands, if you have a dealership, that's the place to go because they'll be able to help you in so many ways. So I have to give a special thanks to Babylock, Bernina, Janome, and Bittersweet, which is where I got a bunch of the stuff for this, Bittersweet Quilt Shop in Pinconning, Michigan. The 4 of them, thank you so much for your help with making sure that we have machines that work really well with our Cuddle fabric. I am pleased with all of them. They've all done really well. I hope that this has helped you to figure out what you need and how you can make your machine work for you. And we'll be back next week. I will go back and answer questions in the comments too. But we'll be back next week. We're going to be making a tote bag, which I had. Oh, hold on. Stay there. I'm going to grab it really fast. It's right by you, but I knew I couldn't like reach behind you to your left. We're going to make this little tote bag next week. So we'll be back with
super cute.
one more. Well, now you're going to see my scraps in there.
Oh.
There we go.
That's the little lining.
Yep, little lining. So we're going to do this next week, this Thursday and Friday. I'm going to be up at Cali Quilt Co for the Kimber Bear event, which will be fun. And then we're back there next month when we kick off our Sew Together Tuesday tour. So we're going to be starting July 6th. We will actually start back with the Sew Together Tuesdays. And then we will head up and then out and across America. So make sure that you check out our blog for that and find the stores that are closest to you and come see us. It's going to be super fun. Hawk and I are going to be traveling around and meeting people and teaching classes and giving away stuff. And it's going to be awesome.
Speaking of giving away stuff.
Awesome. Oh yeah, we need a winner. Sorry. Thanks. We need a winner. Today's winner is Mary S. So congratulations, Mary. Thanks. We'll send you a kit, and that's what he's here for. Keep me on track. Thanks, Mary, and thanks for sharing the video. I appreciate it. And anything else?
Yeah. What have you been doing for the last week? Sewing samples.
Oh, right. I've been sample sewing
for the upcoming tour.
So
right?
many samples. We have so many things that we're going to be teaching this time.
So
this guy is one of my favorites. Yeah.
We're going to go real
slow. It's obviously
slow.
one of Hawk's favorites, too.
You ready?
Super cute.
What's
Here we go.
this? What's this? What's this?
What could it be? What could it be? This is a project I've been sewing for my class coming up at the Fig Leaf, which is in Fort Collins, Colorado. It's a little llama. And we're going to be doing that over there. So if you're interested in that class, you can check out their website.
Look at that llama. Is
so
that
cute.
not the cutest thing you've ever seen?
It's kind of adorable. I like them a lot.
Right,
so we're gonna do this.
I'm enamored.
Whole bunch of projects that we're gonna be teaching over the next 10 weeks at Quilt Shop. So we're gonna be doing Sew Together Tuesday and also in-person workshops. So if you have wanted to take a class with me, this is the chance that you have. So go check out that blog post and see where you can join us. All right. Okay. Is that all of it?
We're gonna let them go.
All right. Thanks so much, guys. Until next time. Happy sewing.